Water beads are one of the most fascinating things to watch grow. They're really easy to use and can be found at most craft stores. All you need to do is just add water and wait for the beads to expand. The regular instructions on the packaging says to fill a container with lukewarm water. But is it really lukewarm water that gives the best absorption results, or is there anything else that we can do in order to have the beads grow bigger or faster? Let's conduct a simple time-lapse experiment to see what actually can make this process more efficient. Let's take a look at the water bead's chemistry. It is made up of a superabsorbent water-retaining polymer, or polyacrylamide, or PAM, with a chemical formula of C3H5NO. In my first time-lapse experiment, I want to observe the difference between the water bead's absorption in room temperature water, hot water, and distilled water. In the beginning, I can see that the temperature does speed up the absorption, but over time the hot water does cool down, and the absorption of the beads in the room temperature water does catch up, which just gives the same result at the end. But the distilled water had absolutely different effects. The beads grew faster and they grew larger. Even with the same volume of water used initially, the beads expanded more by around 20% in the distilled water. I am also sure that if I add more distilled water to make sure the beads were fully submerged, they would absorb more water and grow even bigger. And to prove this, I will continue with another experiment. This time I will use larger water gel pieces in a flower shape, and for the purity of the experiment, I will put the same amount of water, but this time one container will be filled with salty water, one with room temperature water, another with hot tub temperature water, and the last with distilled water. I want to add one with salted water to see if the concentration of salt in the water interacts with absorption, and of course it does. The higher the concentration of dissolved ions in the water, the worse the absorption. And once again, the acrylic flowers in the distilled water showed the best results. The results for the room temperature water and hot water were the same by the end of the process, as I mentioned before. Absorption in hot water may be faster in the beginning, but it is obvious that temperature is not a key factor, but the concentration of dissolved ions. Let's see if the results for the colored clear water beads in the food coloring solution will have a better outcome in distilled water as well. I have equal amounts of distilled with a ppm of 1 and tub room temperature water with a ppm close to 100. I place approximately the same amount of Orbeez in each of them, and by the end of the experiment, almost no water was left in the tray with the distilled water, which showed really good water absorption, but there's still a lot of water left in the tub water room temperature tray. By the end of the experiment, there was almost no water left in the tray with distilled water, which shows a really good level of water absorption, but there was still a lot of water left in the room temperature tub water tray. The beads were also larger in size in the distilled water tray, which again confirms the fact that distilled water does give better results. Thank you so much for watching, and please remember to subscribe.